you've lived as long as I have, you do have a few things on your resume, so I apologize for that lengthy. But I do thank you all for being here and showing your hearts. It strengthens me to see that you would take your time and cut your schedule short and come on a rainy day to join hands around families. To me, families are the fabric of our communities. And if families begin to fail, then the communities will start to deteriorate. So thank you for your hearts. As we listened to the song when we came in, I don't know if you all caught it, but one of the repeating messages in the song was, you keep hope alive. And we know in the song it was referring to Jesus, keeps our hope alive. But how do I keep that hope alive in me and then pass it on? So to answer that question, let me go back in time to around 2015. Governor Hutchinson was in his first term, and he did two monumental things during that first term that put, I believe, this into motion. The first thing is that he appointed a child welfare oversight committee. He saw that families were struggling. He saw that kids in astronomical numbers were being placed into foster care. And I was tasked with serving on that legislative committee. And what I kept seeing in the reports was River Valley, highest in, foster care numbers. River Valley, highest in this, highest in that. And what I began to say is, maybe the state should throw everything it's got at our area, and if we got it right here, we could develop systems that we could pass on to the rest of the state. It was not a problem with the judges or DHS or, law enforcement. It was just some things that were like the perfect storm here. So the other thing that Governor Hutchinson did around that time, as he recognized that our incarceration numbers were just rising at astronomical rates. And so he thought, we've got to do more than just put together, and I'm reading his thoughts here, so I'm not quoting the governor. But he was spurred into action, and he said, let's do some things for these families and for those that are incarcerated that are coming back into our communities. And also, let's do something to maybe empty our jails and not have so many people have, maybe we can correct some behaviors. So at that time, he put together what we call the Restore Hope Initiative. And he had several convenings in Little Rock around what he called Restore Hope. And he saw that this job was way too big for any one state agency to tackle. And he wanted to turn this over to faith-based and nonprofits and advocates and anyone that wanted to join hands and restore families. Because we may see that incarcerated individual as an individual, but he has a family. He came from a family. And that family is probably in crisis. And those children that are in crisis, because maybe it's just poverty, because they, don't have a good existence at home. So he wanted us all to join forces. And from Restore Hope, as I got involved with that as a legislator, and then as I retired and came back, I was able to volunteer with them as well. The governor then wanted to take it a step further, and he helped develop some pilots that we now see went into Sebastian County, called Restore Hope. And then we also saw the pilot go into White County about the same time. And they were picked because their numbers were extreme. So Sebastian and White County started the Restore Hope initiative. I know that when we are starting this in Crawford County, that all the innovation that came out of Sebastian County was amazing. When you put that many people in a room, community leaders, nonprofits, advocates, bio moms, adoptive parents, and those that are freshly from jail, incarcerated, when you put them all in a room and you say, let's solve this problem, something magical happened. And I would even really need to say it was spiritual. But they started innovating around those problems. They broke down those silos. I can do that for your organization, but I don't have anyone that can drive somebody. Oh, I can do that. Well, we don't. We need an education piece. So Chancellor Riley at UA Fort Smith has a staff there, and they've innovated around how can we get people into college and give them training. Future Fit was one of those things that they innovated around. It's a free program for people to receive an amazing certificate. When they get hired, they're making $15, $16 an hour, which is sustainable for a family, brings them out of poverty. So in Crawford County, as we begin work, we see that, I want you to see that we already have 2 organizations on the ground moving to begin the 100 Families work. 100 Families was one of the innovations that came out of Sebastian County. And in Sebastian County, we know that they served not just 100 families, but it was over 350 families in a year. And that was just with 1 or 2 case managers. In Crawford County, we're going to be blessed to have, I think, 3 or 4 to handle more families. So we already have 2 organizations that have case managers that are busy enrolling families into the technology system. That was an innovation. And connecting families to resources that they need to move to stability. These case managers, and they're here in the room, and I'm going to recognize them in a second, call the families to check on their progress, and they connect them to community resources. So when they intake a family, they go through a checklist of 14 different stressors that we see affect families adversely, and according to how they score on that, then we connect them with the resource where they are in crisis and form a care team around them. And the case managers orchestrate that. So they're finding resources. And you may be thinking, well, what kind of resources? A family may have flat tires. They may need new tires. They may need a fuel pump. They may need a porch fixed. They may need something on the windows. They may need beds. They're sleeping on the floor, and they cannot get their children back in an unsafe environment. So we go in and try to fix those houses and make them safe. They may need temporary housing. We find them a free hotel room a lot of times. People in our community are doing pro bono work. They connect them to jobs and jobs training at UA Fort Smith, at Crawford County Adult Ed. I even have a case manager here in this room that I'm going to introduce in a minute that tried to revive a dying chicken for a grieving parent. And you don't know what your job is going to lead to in a day with families. So that's right. And none of you in this room will be surprised that Dr. Debbie Faubus was in on that. So, right? And that chicken ended up in a pen behind adult ed. So these families are in crisis and they don't have resources. And that's humorous to us, but that was where they were in that moment, and adult ed fixed that problem. So our case managers also work with the judges and try to innovate around solutions. You know, what if they went to adult ed and got an education instead of, you know, spending that time in jail? And our judges are open to solutions that have consequences and oversight, and that should be the way it is. Our case managers work with the police, and we want to develop more systems in order to do that. We work with DHS, and we've got one of the best DHS departments in the state, right here in Crawford County. Right. They are open to innovations. They call us when they have families that maybe we could do some preventative work with. So they are incredible. So what I'd like to do is have my case managers that are here in the room stand, because they're the ones you're going to be calling when you have families that are in trouble and want to accept our help in the 100 Families Initiative. So Autumn Grant in the very back row, she was in on the chicken, so she did an amazing job that day. Jessica, where are you? Jessica and Noah, they are at Hamilton House Community Resource Center, and they both have teams around them, and I want their teams to stand as well. Kim Black is the resource director at the Hamilton House Resource Center, and Lori. They form a team, and they're all going to help those families that refer to them. So Autumn, I'm going to introduce the rest of your team. Annie Palmer is with you. She's standing back there. Brian Mopin, there you go. And Dr. Faubus, yep, she's just going to give us a hand. Yeah, she's a lover of animals, so that was a perfect fit for her. But I want to give a hand to these case managers. So the governor has challenged us not to just serve 100 families. It's called 100 families, but we know that there's more than that out there. Alma has told me, yeah, I know I have 100 right off that we could enter. Mulberry, of course, you just heard the numbers that are coming to their food bank. We've got those numbers at Mountainburg, at Cedarville. We've got those numbers here in Van Buren. Some statistics say that we've got almost a third of our population that is in poverty. And poverty can drive crisis. So the governor has challenged us to find and serve 500 families in 12 months. And I know we can do it. And the reason I know we can do it is because I see the energy, I see the resources in this room, I see people that are already innovating around things that we can do that haven't been done anywhere else in the state. Melinda McSpadden, where are you? She calls me every other day with some new innovation, new program, new way we can do this. She's on fire for this. She's excited, and that's the kind of people we need to have involved with this, people that are thinking outside the box. I love talking to her and getting her calls. She put up with my son in 2nd grade, so I will go to any length to help her. So let me show you the progress we have made, and I'm going to show you just 4 quick slides that show you the kind of data that we're able to collect. It's very innovative the way that we collect data. If you'll pull up those slides. There we go. As of right now, our case managers have enrolled 54 families, and that includes, I'm going to have trouble looking back behind me, 124 children. We're already working with those families and those children to relieve their crisis. In the next slide, here you can see, and it's hard to see that blue line, but this is another way we're going to keep up with the data. It's called a Strengthening Families Index. And this is just a measurement system that shows how well our families are moving out of crisis into stability and then hopefully on to thriving. And that's one of the unusual things that 100 Families, in my opinion, does. We just don't want to get you stable. We want to move you past that to a thriving. And we do that by adding that education piece so that your family can have more income and more stability. And then the next slide. This is what you'll see every month if you attend our Alliance meetings that we'll have once a month on Zoom. You'll see fresh data that we correlate every month. And if you'll look at the colors, you can see that the families are in crisis in several different areas. They don't come to us just with a crisis in transportation or just in food or just in housing. It's probably, out of the 14 areas of assessment, it's going to be several areas. The goal is to move the families from the red, where it shows crisis, over to the blue, that shows that they are thriving. And then in the next one, this is showing you exactly two of the indicators that we have really feel proud about. Our case managers have done a great job. We see that we have helped 18% of our families obtain safe, stable housing, and that's a must if you're going to move into a stable existence. And we have decreased the employment crisis for families that they were experiencing by moving 36% of families from unemployed to employed. That's huge. Adult Ed had a drive-through. COVID has caused us to do just some crazy things and innovate, and they actually had a drive-through employment fair. And I know that several companies that participated in that picked up a lot of workers, and they helped a lot of our families find jobs. So we'll spend more time when we have our Alliance meeting discussing data, and you have a little taste of some other data in your brochure that we gave you. But you today are the beginning of what we're going to call our Community Alliance. And you are the 100 Families pilot, launch for 100 families, and the Alliance is one of the cornerstone pieces, because without people in the same room, talking to each other, listening to problems, problem solving right then and there, it is impossible to get the innovation and the care to families that we have been able to do in Crawford, and like we've done in Sebastian. We will have a 100 Families Alliance Zoom meeting on the last Tuesday of every month, probably except December. We'll do that at 9:00 a.m. We'll try to do it in an hour to an hour and a half. We'll have quality speakers come in, or panelists, and explain to us why they, how we can move people from crisis to stability. What is the effect of trauma? I know Ray Hanley, that's here with AFMC, they're doing a lot of work with trauma, and I hope I can get his panel here for one of our meetings. So I hope you now see just how we can answer my beginning question that I posed. How do I show hope to the other people around me? How do I keep hope alive for those around me that could be my family members, that could be my neighbors, that could be parents of kids on a ball team that I see twice a week at the ball field? They could be my friends at work. They could be people I just see regularly at the checkout at the grocery store. But how do I reach them and give them hope in an environment where they feel hopeless because of the crisis that they're exhibiting? And the answer to all this is you guys in this room. It's this alliance. It's this heart for helping people. So mark your calendars for October 27th. We will have Halloween, I think, so don't let that throw you off that last week in October. And we will have a Zoom meeting. I'll send that out to everybody in the room. I know everybody can't always meet every meeting, but we'll try to send recordings or summaries. And we will have our first Alliance meeting on October 27th at 9 a.m. That's a Tuesday. And we will begin to make plans to keep hope alive for 500 families in Crawford County. Let's get to work. Thank you.